live on Facebook now.
Sure.
Rotate my phone.
That's right.
Hello everyone on Facebook. I'm sitting here with Brett and we're doing a podcast. I've driven up to Orange to say hello and we're talking about After the Limelight. Basically, we both did the Port Macquarie Ironman in 2014, but we thought we'd just have a chat about things. I'm just going to press record on the podcast as well. So I've got a podcast copy as well. We've had a bit of trouble with understatement. Nothing works. We travel so far and at the moment we've only got one speaker, but anyway, we'll see what happens. So I'm pressing record here. We've got to share this. Hello everyone, it's Plu here and I'm sitting here with Brett Sammut, or Samo, known in social media world, and we first met each other, I can't remember actually, so you'll be able to remember the story and we'll have a chat. I think it was Penrith, but we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brett, say hello.
Hello people, how you going?
Tell me, Brett, you've been doing a lot of training and exercise over the years, but like me, we're doing a lot less now. What's been your sort of typical day now sitting around in Bathurst? Beautiful weather out there too.
Yeah, so typical day will be taking my girls to school, going for a run, and then housework.
Sounds good. I think actually our first time I met you was at the end of the half marathon at Penrith. And I was coming in just under 2 hours and I turned behind me and there was a guy behind me. It was you. Yeah. Was that you? Is that how you remember that?
Yeah. So I think there was, not sure if there was paces there, but yeah, we were right on the 2 hour cutoff and I'm pretty sure it was about 1 hour 58 and they gave us the exact same time. I remember, yeah.
All right, so that was 2010. And I don't think I saw you again after that until it was in the train and you were with a mate. I think you were staying at Wesley or Pennant Hills or something like that. And was it a half marathon or a marathon? It was very early in the morning, I remember that.
Or the City to Surf?
No,
City to Surf. Must have been Sydney half marathon.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Sydney half marathon. So yeah, that was an early start. Train trip over to Milson's Point.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, then run across the bridge back to Sydney.
So, tell me a little bit about the different sort of main events that you've done over your career and when did you start? When did all this running start with you, Brett?
Where did it start? I guess 2010 was one of my first runs, but I did the Fitzroy Falls Marathon back in about 2000. Oh, that was early 2000s. That was just on a whim. And I came in with about 2 minutes to spare. So I'm good at chasing cutoffs, I am.
Actually, I did the 05 and 06 one. You might have been there at the same race.
Maybe 04.
You got a t-shirt for it?
No. I don't know. I was just on cutoff and I think someone came out and basically ran me in as the cutoff sweeper. So, the Horry was one of those guys did, yeah.
Yeah. So, you mentioned Horry. So, what was your involvement with Cool Running Australia?
Yeah, so when I started running, I didn't really have any affiliation to any clubs and just got online one day and saw this group called Cool Running and I think they were supporting, it might have been the Sydney Marathon around the Rocks area or around that area there and I saw the blue and yellow shirts and went home and looked it up and bought the shirt and bought the hat and yeah, the blue and yellow Cool Running hat.
So what year was that? Because I remember in 2004, I went there, I ran with the chaplain at my school at the time, and I took a digital camera with me. Yeah. And I was running ahead with him taking photos. So was it as early as that? Were you still working then at that point in the previous job? No,
so I was trying to think, I didn't run that year. I was down there just spectating. I saw the run and I saw the Cool Running shirts and that would have been early 2000s. I started running, apart from Fitzroy Falls, had a big gap between Fitzroy Falls and the Western Marathon. Had a few years of recovering, from a job in the police, and then 2010 started to, I suppose, ramp it up and do lots of marathons and Ironman with you and 100Ks.
I didn't realise you started in 2010. You were pretty fit then. So what sort of your exercise regime been through your life if you took you back to your 20s?
So when I was younger, I played soccer at quite a high level, so I was always quite fit. Lived at Cronulla, so I surfed a lot. And yeah, I was quite a fit guy back then. And then entered the police force back in 94. And shift work, young family. Yeah, so the weight piled on and exercise took a back seat to basically, I guess, growing up and becoming a mid-20s, middle-aged man.
Mid-20s, middle age. I'm not quite sure that's the thing. This is really awkward with one microphone. Those who are just listening to this, we've got a system here with two mics, and for whatever reason, the other mic is not working properly, this one here. But anyway, we're flicking backwards and forwards, doing the best as we can. You don't travel 3 hours not to have a chat. All right, when you say you played pretty football to a fairly high level, what was your position and sort of, what sort of things did you do to perform so well? What were some of the things that made you a reasonable athlete, all those around you a good athlete?
Yeah, so I grew up in Penrith where I played basically soccer football from under 6s to under 18s, and I played under a coach, David Seal, who still lives in the area. Just an amazing coach, and I still visit him when I see him downtown, down Penrith, and he's one of those guys that you trained hard, but you're rewarded for playing hard. But he expected quite a high level of basically football back then, and we went through to become the champions back in I think I was 16. So basically, we were the best club team in the state, and then involved travelling. Obviously, City Metropolitan. We also travelled out this way. We travelled down the south coast, and we had a few players back then who went on to play for Australia, like David Seal and those sort of guys. So yeah, so it was quite a high level team it was, and we sort of played like the typical Australian formation as well. We played like a Dutch formation, went away from the old 5-3-2 formation to more of a 4-4-2 formation, and a lot more attacking, less strikers up front, but more midfield. So, and no other team really knew how to fight a 4 midfielders when they were playing a 3 midfield defence. So, yeah, it was different, but it worked.
I must admit, I'm a little bit lost with that. When you say those numbers, you mean it's the parallel players going from the centre line to the goalie, I guess.
Yeah, so back in the 80s, it was called a 5-3-2. Basically, you had 5 forwards, 3 halves, 2 fullbacks, and a goalkeeper. And we decided to try 4-4-2, which basically we went the reverse way. So that was 4 fullbacks, 4 halves, 2 forwards, and we relied on our 2 wing halves to become additional strikers or additional fullbacks, and we went through probably 3 years undefeated. Quite a high level team it was, and like I said, we played hard, we trained old school. Like, you did something wrong, you did laps. I remember one day we lost a game which we should have won, and punishment was pretty sure ended up being about a 3-hour session of just running as punishment. And he met our parents before the session and said, don't come back till whatever time it was, and just ran us around Jamison Oval basically all night.
I want to jump forward to, you're currently coaching a soccer team at the moment, or a football team.
Yep.
But what did you learn from that discipline of being in a team and training and coaching that you brought with you when you took up running and triathlons and running 24 hours in the gym too? I think.
Yeah. I guess I've always tried to instill that you get out what you put in, whether it's life or sport in general. I've coached some really good teams out this way the last few years, and I've coached a few champions. We've won a few comps, and I'm coaching a women's team this year as well as the 16 girls reps team. And we try and keep it fun. Like, we try to instill some discipline which they can take away to their life, as well as on the soccer field. But it's more about having fun and keeping fit and trying to get these girls through this quite just this difficult part of their life is at 16 years of age and 17 years of age, and try and put some positive role models in their life through different parents, through like the coaching team, and we just have some fun. And it's a really good bunch of kids, I guess, and I really enjoy having basically that team sort of under my belt at the moment. And we're playing on Sunday against Dubbo, who are a really strong club, but we'll go there and do our best and have some fun in the process.
So is this a knockout? What happens on Sunday after Sunday if you win or don't win? So
Sunday, basically due to COVID, there's the women's football in the Central West has dropped down a little bit, and there's only us and Dubbo in our comp. So it's we lost both games against Dubbo last weekend, so now we go to Dubbo and play on their home turf, I guess you could say, and it just comes down to basically trying to promote women's football into sort of towns, and I guess build up like a friendly rivalry between our two towns. Normally Bathurst is in it. Normally other towns are in it as well out here, but Bathurst didn't come in this year, which is fine. But us and Dubbo got a very strong rivalry going. Not quite the Parramatta Manly rivalry, but
let's go NRL. I'm ready to talk.
but we're building it up quite nicely, and I think there's a lot of respect at the age group that, you know, we're not playing for sheep stations, but we're playing for a bit of pride, but also just fitness and makes them more friends, I guess. Yeah.
So I didn't realise that you only started out in running in triathlons. Pretty well that race I saw you at Penrith around that time, your half marathon you did.
Yeah.
So that's something, you know, we've been sort of online friends and in face-to-face friends at different stages over our careers. So you did the half. Where did you go after that in terms of events, in terms of running first before we go into triathlons?
I guess after that event, I had I suppose you could say, a bit of a sort of mental breakdown, I guess you could say, and ended up in a hospital for a few weeks and medication and other treatment. And then I guess I needed an outlet because I was, you know, being a police officer for so long and then basically being put into a ward, I lost my identity a bit. And I think I just enjoyed what that day running around the lake, as it was called back then. I decided to try and find some runs, and I drove down to Canberra and did the Canberra Half Marathon on a whim, and loved it. I loved the crowd. No one knew who I was. You come from a small town where you're a policeman, you're quite well known, and you can't really walk around. You feel like you're in a fishbowl. But drove down to Canberra, ran the half marathon, and remember driving back to, it was Yas McDonald's, and falling asleep at the McDonald's because I was so tired.
I think there's a few of us out there who've gone down to Canberra and thought, I've got to get home because I've got to go to work the next day. It's a long
drive home. Yeah, it's a long drive home, and after running up at 6 a.m. for the start of the run, then you do your 2-hour half or your 4-hour marathon, then you got to get home up the highway. It's a long drive.
I'll leave it to you if you want to, the extent you want to talk to how your health issues have come forward from there. But it's clear that the running helped you, and I'd like to pursue that line.
Yeah. So I was lucky to have a good team, like a psychiatrist and a psychologist here in town who, although I am medicated, I'm still medicated today, and we've tried a few different types of medications. We all agreed that running I needed my running, I needed the outlet, I needed to smell the fresh air. And obviously living in Orange, you know, I've got Lake Canolbus and Mount Canolbus 10 k's away. I've got these beautiful trails. I get up there daily now, and that's almost like my medicine, on top of my medicine. And I get up there and I run my backyard and I just get up there and just run, and I start the day in a good mood. You know, to beat the clock, I just run, walk for some days, take photographs, sit back and reflect, and then come home and then housework.
And it's looking a lot better than my place, let me assure you.
Yeah, I guess between 9 and 3, when I take the girls to school and pick them back up, I'm a dad, housewife, everything else in that realm of things. Being a single dad to my 2 girls, it's a tough gig, but like I said, I enjoy it, and they're my priority at the moment, and make sure that when they're home at 3 o'clock, I'm available for them.
So what was your first marathon? Do you remember that, and what was it like?
Well, first marathon would have been, Fitzroy Falls. That was cut off. I'm pretty sure it was Canberra, and it was, like a high. Actually, I think it might be the Canberra 50. I remember running, I remember running through the old finishing chute, and he was standing there, and the 50 kilometre kept going through the finishing chute, did like a half lap around the lake, and he was holding my medal up, but he invited me to the 50, and so I thought, 8 more Ks, like how hard can it be? And I ended up running and got to the turnaround point, and the table was bare, and there was this red half-eaten snake on the ground. And I ate that because I was like, it was longest 4 Ks of my life to get back.
Yeah.
And because I've met a few of the guys from Orange Runners Club, and they sort of hung around to see me finish. I think that 8 Ks took almost like an hour and a half.
That's pretty good at the end.
It was good. It was an amazing feat, but and I just got hooked in. I suppose, a bit of like the accolades of receiving a medal, a few pats on the back, and then I was seeing people like like Horry, like Jane, and all these amazing people who they're social media, weren't even friends. They're more like social media personalities who I knew of. And as you know, they're calling you by your name, and you felt a bit of pride, like these legends, Brick and Keith, all these guys who you've seen running these 100, 200 marathons, who know you by your first name. And it made you feel like you were inclusive in this group. And whether you're chasing cut-off or whether you were winning, no one cared back then. It was lovely to have that group of people to pull me through. It was quite a tough time, back in that sort of 2010 to about 15,
It's because you're very selfless, because a lot of the runs you do, they're often piggybacking a charity or something like that, and the charities are often related to issues in the local area here as well that you've done. Yeah. What are some of the charities that you've done? And tell me, did you do an Ironman or was it a 24-hour run in a gym here somewhere? Yeah.
So I do like, when I started running, I didn't understand why people ran, and I started to hear that if you want to run do a race, run for some other reason, and so that was when it came up, like with Ron McDonald House or Jane McGrath Foundation or the Breast Cancer Foundation. And I found that by running for a charity, it pushed you, because if you gave up, you're giving up on them. And a lot of times, people who you're running for couldn't run, and so you're basically running on their behalf, and happy to wear the singlets, or the whether it be for Black Dog or whether it be for McGrath Foundation or a few of those, even running in a cool running shirt back then. Like you see a fellow cool running person, you get the high five or you get the nod, and it just gives you that extra probably 5-second boost. Then you collapse again. But it just gives you that little boost. But so I was quite closely with the McGrath Foundation for years, and then I just needed a challenge, and I was just doing some research, and I saw that there was indoor Ironman had been done by a gentleman in UK, but he rode the swim league. So there was no official indoor Ironman swim bike run record. I thought I'll give it a crack. How hard can it be? So the local gym has a 25-metre pool. So we teed up to do 100 and whatever it was laps. And then I rode on my bike, followed the Florida Ironman course on the CompuTrainer for 180 Ks. And then did the full marathon, the 42 Ks on the treadmill. And it was about 12 and a half hours. And I think we raised 27 or something thousand. We raised a lot of money for McGrath Foundation, which was nice, but it's just a big day.
So you talked about people like Horry and Brick and Jane and all those who are real people and they're involved with running and that. And you just sort of alluded to the fact that that they have a social media sort of presence and people follow them. Yeah. It'd be fair to say that you had a fairly high profile here in the Orange community for the work you were doing.
I guess I did. So my wife went through breast cancer from sort of 2010, 2005 to 2017. So, and we're based in the police in town, so we had a bit of a good following here, and we used the media to try to raise funds, and we had a few balls and those sort of things. So people knew that I was like, I wasn't Orange's best runner, but I was always out there and said I was running marathons and doing 100K events and doing Ironman. So they knew of me, which was nice. And I got a lot of support from the local community. Like running around every day in the streets and those sort of things. Cars toot the horns and that sort of stuff. But so being a small country town, it's a good running community out here.
The other thing that you're brave about, Brett, is a lot braver than me, is you actually put your goals out there before you do them, whereas I actually do what I want to do, and if I've succeeded, I'll go tick, I've done it sort of thing, whether I've run from A to B, but it's not about me. So recently there was a run in the Blue Mountains towards the end of what we're talking about here, and you put it out there you were going to run, but you didn't run. How did you manage that?
So UTA 100, so you're 100 kilometres through the stunning Blue Mountains National Park. It's been like a bucket list race of mine for a long time, because almost everyone, the who's who in running, has run it. The who's who in running has won it too. So I first attempted it back in 2017, and my wife and daughters were staying on the course at about the 55K mark, and I basically ran to a point where I just got homesick, I guess. I missed my girls and I missed my wife, and I spoke to a good friend, Mel, and said, take me home. So she basically drove me home. She did at the 50K mark. And so I thought, I'll come back. And so I went back in 2019 and trained with a coach, with Kerry and Ellie over in Squadron, and we trained with them and got to 80 kilometres, which is QV hospital, and young guy in front of me, his backpack clipped quite a sturdy stick, and it flicked back and cut my eye. So I lost vision in my left eye during the run.
Oh wow!
Yes, that was So I got to the checkpoint, and because I had no vision in my left eye from the where the stick cut me, they wouldn't let me continue on. So I got driven to Katoomba Hospital, where they did some tests, and due to from that section to the finish line being quite an isolated section, down below Three Sisters, and having a sheer drop to your left, having no left vision, the doctor basically DQ'd me, and I was gutted because I was like, it was a run of my life. It was probably my best run. Even though I've done longer runs, that was probably my best 80Ks I've ever run. So I thought, nah. So as soon as the edges opened up, I signed up for last year's race, but obviously with COVID, it got stopped. So I rolled it over to this year, and I put it out there a while ago that I was going to run the 100, and had a pretty tough year with a lot of personal things happening, and I couldn't train as hard as I wanted to, and the weight crept on, and my mental health was in probably one of the worst spots I've been for a while. But I thought accountability by social media, so I put it out there and said, here's me packing my bag. So I took a few photographs of me packing the mandatory get bag, and I drove down to Katoomba on the Friday, probably 50-50 I was going to run. I was just physically, I was almost there. But it's more of a mental run, like Ironman. It's a mental challenge. And a good mate from Sydney recognised that I was struggling. So he drove up to see me that Friday night, and we had a really good chat in the cabin, and basically he's instilled a few little confident pointers in me. Basically said, look, next year we'll run together. For this year, get through this year. And I went to bed basically thinking, I'll run tomorrow, it'll be fine. But 3 o'clock I had a bit of a panic attack. I woke up and repacked my bag, the mandatory bag, and went back to sleep and stared at the roof. 4:30, did it again, repacked my bag again. And I just couldn't get out of that, just the same repeating pattern. And then it was, you get to a thing, like it's okay to fail, but at least you got to start. There's a big thing about, at least DNF's better than didn't start, and give a try, do that first step and you'll be right. And alarming off at about 6, you hear the other people in the cabins, moving around. So that general, as you know, that morning excitement wasn't there. And I couldn't get out of bed. I texted a few friends, and I couldn't physically get out of bed to get going. And then I basically was looking at the clock. I saw, wave 1 start, heard the gun, heard everything. I think I heard all the commotion. Then wave 2. Then it was like 3 minutes till my wave started, and I thought I actually got out of my cabin. And I was only staying half a K from the start line, but a mate who was walking for a later start saw me. He was quite shocked because he thought I should have been starting, and even he said, mate, you're not ready. He could see obviously in my eyes that I wasn't doing it for the right reason. Like I almost had nothing to prove, and I wasn't mentally ready to start. So I was hoping to leave straight away, but I was locked in because the course was closed. So the girl said, sorry, I can't open the gates for 2 hours. So my plan was basically just to come home. I was very homesick. My girls are here. I was very homesick. So I sat there, got a coffee, and sat in the sideline and just cheered 2 hours of people passing me. And it was nice because people who didn't know, because obviously no one knew, were shocked to see me, and some ran past with this look in their eye like, who was that?
What's happened?
Yeah, what's happened? And some people stopped and hugged me to chat. And the fact that people stopped their race, and they might have lost a minute or two, but they were concerned for my welfare enough. A few times there they'd leave, and I was like, crying. And a few comments from people they're like, who are you? Like, why are people hugging you? I'm like, I'm a nobody, but they're friends, and I should be racing with them. So I'm a nobody. I'm nothing special. But it was nice that people, most of us are social media friends, most of us are just Facebook friends. You rarely see, and you see them once a year at a race like that. But those races bring us together, and that's why you do them. That's social. And then when Jane, came past the sweeper, she was just like, you could see in her eyes, like she was disappointed for me because I've known Jane for a long time and she knows my struggles. And and we've joked about if she catches me, she'll get me home. That's her job, that sweeper, get the last person home. And actually, I was looking forward to having a tough day and hoping that she picked me up because Lucy was there, and Jane and SJ. And so that was almost my goal was let them catch me, and have a nice 20k walk with 3 amazing role models. 3 almost like heroes of the sport. But drove home and that's it.
Thank you for sharing that. I won't go any more there, but I remember following that and I thought, oh, something's happened. And I thought, all right, I'll just wait, it'll appear eventually. Something good came through, and eventually you did do a little post, or I might have messaged you or something.
Yeah.
So that's just only 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Let's travel back. So you've done your marathon. Probably the next thing was Ironman before the real ultras, wasn't it? So what led you to the Ironman racing?
Yeah, so for some reason in Orange, Ironman and triathlon really had a big boom, and all my running friends were doing triathlon. So it was almost like be one of the cool kids and try to do triathlon. So my first triathlon was on a 20 kilogram giant mountain bike, which I think all of us did the same thing. We all rode the mountain bikes with the big stack hats and just couldn't believe how hard it was to run off a mountain bike. So I bit the bullet like most middle-aged men do and spent more than my first car on a triathlon bike. I think my first car was $19.99. My first triathlon bike was $4,000, and it's but just fell in love with it, and I did a few local races, and then I did the Shepparton half Ironman. Yep. Just loved it, and what wasn't, I said 6 hours wasn't a challenge, but it was still enough to get that the bug a bit. And then I heard about this Ironman thing, and like the old Wide World Sports days, like watching all those Ironmen in those days running around Foster. It was like it was out of your league. There's no way a person in my condition at my age could do an Ironman, and so I hooked up with Mel Ashton, who's quite a well-known basically Ironman athlete, Australia and I was overseas, and she had a little group in town, so hooked up with her and did Port back in 2010, 14 it was, 2014, and didn't go to plan, but didn't care, had no goals, had no ambitions, I just loved it.
Actually, I remember that because I remember seeing, because it's really hard, that course, because you pass the finishing area about 20 times, you hear the music, and I get off the bike and the leader's just coming in for the win. So for the whole marathon, you're seeing people going in the finishing chute, and you've got to pass it 8 times. Yep. But I remember I was heading out on my last leg to Soldiers Point, I think it was, that past the club, and you were coming in at that last check station. And you were finishing, and we high-fived. And you look good for having a bad day, so well done.
I think if you saw me that way down the street, you'd be concerned. With the malnutrition and the rash and the chafing and those sort of things. But it's one of those events where I always thought it had this this elitism to it, and I suppose it does a bit. But once you get past, and the good thing about that Port Macquarie course is being laps. Every lap, a group of people finish. So by that third and fourth lap, those out there, they're surviving. And they're all like you. There's no elite up there. There's no egos. It's just people who are putting one foot in front of the other. There could be doctors, could be mums, there could be soldiers. Everyone's out there. It doesn't matter what you are right now. Your goal is to run that last 7Ks back to the finish line. Get up that ramp. It's amazing how a 2 metre incline can just kill your legs after 13, 15 hours out there.
And what is it? How many kilometres does it say on the sheet?
226.
226 kilometres,
So 3.8 swim up that beautiful river, through the boats, worrying about sharks. And then that 180k bike ride, which is so steep, one part they put carpet there so you can walk up that hill, do it twice, get off your bike and then go and run a marathon. Like, sure.
What I remember about the swim is you had to actually swim out to a weir, then you climb over the weir, go around the other side, do a rectangle and come back. But I remember I was swimming and I was only breathe on one side, and I just flicked to the left-hand side to breathe for a change. And there were people standing there walking, and I put my hand down further and I was touching the bottom. I was actually going backwards.
So that weir, when I got to the weir, I had tinted goggles on, and it was quite a murky water, and the guy yelled out to me 3 steps, and as I came up, I went 1, 2, 3, and I went to run, and I kicked, and I broke my toe on the top step.
That's right. Yeah.
And it made this sound, and they were going, oh! And as I dove back in, the water pressure's just, oh. So basically I was swimming with one kick, and one was dragging. And then when I got to the bike leg, the sock was hurting my toe, so I had to basically ride with no socks. So blister started, and but the run leg was very similar, so that my foot kept hitting into my shoe. So yeah, it was nowhere near like. But like I said, I did a race, and I couldn't even tell you the time. Don't care, because it was just an amazing day. 13, 14 hours, where it was.
Well, I tell you this, I saw you at about 9:30. Because I finished, no, even earlier, probably about 8:30, because I finished about 10:10.
Yeah.
So I was working backwards from the cut-off like you.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The bike ride, it was really cold. That's what caught
Yes.
me. And I remember there's a hill heading south, and I remember going down the hill, and I was on the drop bars, and I thought, this is a bit wild. So I just came up, and just as I did it, the wind came along, and it hit the side of my bike, and my bike just went in the air and bunny hopped to the left.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. I remember that day. I remember the catching the being. Oh well, I rode in these like disc wheels. No, they weren't too thick, but I remember the same thing. Some of the hills you're hitting 30, 40 kilometres an hour, and you get those gusts of wind, and because your wheels are quite thick, the wind just doesn't go through the spokes, hits the wheels, and it does knock you. And you're constantly engaged to keep that front wheel steady. But yeah, it was just, and then it was cold night, like cold breezes, and like I said, and going past that finishing chute, like I said 8 times, and just seeing people finish and hearing cheers, and one to go, and then up around the wall, and it was
And up the hill in town.
Yeah, so it was a good course for that reason that you stay close. Otherwise, like a big out and back would just destroy you. The fact that although it hurt your mental to come through the finishing chute so many times, it was nice to know that that's one less time.
Yeah.
And see the people who were finishing ahead of you was quite an amazing feat. And I think you're right. Yeah, like starting the bike league when the person finished was quite demoralising. Or finishing the bike leg, as they were finishing the whole race.
or you finish 45 kilometres at the cycle, and they're out on the marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from the Ironman, then you transitioned into real ultra trail running, I think would be fair to say. And you've actually done a lot of travelling. I don't know how you did it. At times I've seen, I'm on a road trip, and all of a sudden you appear in Townsville. I know that's family related, not necessarily events, but you've talked about Shepparton and things like that. You've done I remember there was one down on the coast of Melbourne. Was that one of your first trail ones?
Yeah, so I did in the space of 6 months, I did 300k races. I did Great Ocean Walk 100, which was down that Anglesey area. And then I did the Surf Coast Century, which again was around Bells Beach. And then I did Tarawera. so in New Zealand. So three big 100k races in a very short period. But again, no goals. I think the first one, I marched it in with 6 minutes to spare. And then that was like an 18-hour cut-off, and then the other one was maybe half hour to spare. and then Tarawera was like, that was a race, but that was just to go over there and meet some friends from New Zealand, and I didn't mind my finishing time, and I said same medal. But I think it was Surf Coast Century. It was only about 80 of us did it, and when you finished the next day, they gave you your buckle. But it was in a surf club at Anglesey, which had about 20 steps. So I don't know whether the event organisers were just being mean or whether that was part of the parcel. But you'd have to walk up these stairs, and then they gave you medals out from last to first, which was quite a nice thing because everyone got to see everybody finish. But watching people walk up those stairs, it was my girls loved it. They were in tears, and because obviously after running 100k's through the night and then back up in the morning to climb these stairs was I think the hardest thing to finish those races is that you forget the pain next morning and get your socks off, the chafing wherever they chafed. But it's just like those sort of runs, like they're challenging, and you can train all you want, but it's the mental that gets you through. Like that Surf Coast Century, there was 5 guys or 4 guys walking together, and we were riding cut-off. We had the sweepers with us, and one guy stopped just to relieve himself, and he missed cut-off. Like,
oh wow!
Just because he lost that camaraderie of having, and we were just on the poles and just basically, and you watch it goes beep, and you think, okay, 1 kilometre. It's like a 15-minute kilometre. You think, how did I walk 1 kilometre in 15 minutes? You just can't physically, but you're walking so slow, and you're such a gap in your stride, but you finish it, you get your medal, and sign up again.
Sign up again. So we've talked about running, football, Ironman triathlete, ultra running. Is there anything I missed? Is there, like, you haven't done sprinting or anything?
park run, no.
Oh, yeah, how many park runs have you done?
Got 9.
9.
I'm too old to run fast.
Yeah.
I think I didn't mind our local park. I did a few park runs locally. 5Ks, 30 minutes is your first goal. So I joined that club down, the 5:30 runners, which was that 5K, 30 minutes, and you get bumped into a few, a bit like the cool running group, and in Orange you might come 10th, you might come 12th, I think like that's 26 minutes, 25 minutes, and you go to Sydney or you go to Port Macquarie, like Macquarie, and you're doing a sub 25 and you're coming 100th. There's kids like this big are running past you, 4-minute Ks, and guys pushing prams are running 3:30 Ks, and it's amazing how park runners brought like the mums and dads can run with their kids, and you can run a safe 5K area, and you finish within a few minutes of each other. It's really, I think it's done a lot for our fitness, a lot for our the community sport. But I was too old to run fast.
I agree with that. You've done a lot of events that are in the limelight, and we're beyond the limelight now. Well, I definitely am. But you also just disappear and do things. I remember a couple of times we've been up the Central Coast, and we did a lovely run through the bush from Umina over the hill into McMaster's, and looked around and came down the back of someone's house. Remember that? Because we were stuck in the bush beside someone's house. Yeah. And the other time we did a run, you came on one of my 6K runs in Avoca.
Yep.
And you just said on the side, I'm just going to go for a run tomorrow. Do you want to join me? And, and I said, what time are you starting? And he said, 2 a.m. Not happening with me. But then I followed that up. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
why'd you do that? No one knew about that, and
No.
you didn't publicise that.
No.
It's just something you wanted to do.
So we used to have a holiday house at the entrance as long as I can remember, and I always wondered how big was Tuggerah Lake. I always wondered how big it was, and back then it was like one of those kid thoughts, but being a bit of a runner, I thought I'm going to run around it one day, and I was up there for a holiday with my girls, just a mid-term break, and day before I sat with the girls and I said to the oldest one, I'm going to run around the lake. So I mapped it out, and it ended up being like 48.5 kilometres, but I wanted to obviously do an even 50, so I mapped out a 50k version of it, and put the girls to bed at, ended up leaving at 10 p.m. I left.
Oh,
yeah, left at 10 p.m. in the end, it took me, I think I finished right on sunrise. So coming down over the main entrance bridge at sunrise, that was an amazing. It was quite the back of the lake's quite quite dark, quite isolated, and at some points like cars were driving past and they come back a couple of times. And
oh wow!
Yeah, so
just checking you out.
Yeah, I was a bit worried. A few times there, you saw like people walking from people's front yards. A lot of farms, like little acreage properties. Once I got up to sort of Toukley area, I felt a lot safer, and it was a nice way to tick it off. And I think I got back to where I was staying at 49.2 k's, and as us runners, you can't.
Where was the 800?
You always see the person doing on their watch, and so make it 50.1 because otherwise it's 50.
You can see it on Strava. There's a thicker line.
There is, yeah. So for some reason we can never do a 49 or a 22. It's got to be a 9.8. Must be 10 k's, so that was one of those runs, and I love those runs. Like to me, there's like I love going places and just running. Like it's like you can explore things on foot, but I did a race up at Cairns. It was called 3 Marathons 3 Days.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so that was 3 interconnecting marathons over 3 days in the hinterland of Cairns in July. So I left here in snow, went up to Cairns for a family holiday, and mid-30s running these stupid hilly West Cairns marathons with like 10-hour cut-offs, and you're just scraping home. But it was amazing to do it. And but I guess they're the ones that they're not a big race, but to me they're as challenging because it's mental. It's just like you walk a lot of it because it's such a hill and you're following power line and that, but it's a mental challenge, which I guess that helps you live because unless you're an elite athlete, unless you're running for like a pay packet or a lifestyle, us guys back of the pack, we just run for a little self-applause and a little medal maybe, but I guess it's just a sense of achievement. So those sort of runs are, and that was tough because so many times you want to pull out. Like to run a marathon, finish, then do another 2, and then to drive home knowing you've got to do another one tomorrow. And but that was one of those probably one of the most satisfying races I've done or events I've done was the 3 and 3. Yeah, but that was good.
you talked about medals and T-shirts. Have you kept them all, or have you get rid of them? I can't get rid of them.
So T-shirts, I've probably got most under my bed.
You got that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I knew it was. A few got pride of place. The medals, I only keep my marathon and basically ultra stuff at the moment because all the 10s and 5s that they're in a box in the garage. But my main 100s, I think I've done maybe 26 marathons now. 2 Ironman, maybe 3 or 4 hundreds. So they're all in my display. But the rest are all packed away.
I'll put you on the spot here. When you're thinking about things, if you have a vision or something like that where you want to achieve something, what would be some tips for some people that are starting out, to actually become involved in this, and what are the benefits?
In running?
Running, or exercise in life, put it that way, yeah.
I guess don't put pressure on yourself, and I guess understand what your limits are, but still challenge yourself, because there's no point running a 10K and trying to get some sense of achievement, unless you're trying to run like a sub 40 or a sub 30 a minute 10K. You need to sort of set yourself outside those boundaries where half marathon's your first goal, and then you go for your marathon, then you go 50. But some people go from like a park run to a 50K to be in the clique or in the cool group, but you lose that reasons why they do it. The big why do you run those distances? And some people run these days for the medal. And you hear them online now, the event ran out of medals, or the event gave last year's medals, and people forget that they've trained all year, they've sacrificed family time, they've sacrificed money and quality time, and their goal's the medal. Whereas, what's the saying now? Like, enjoy the journey, not destination. So, and I've got so many finish line medals, finish line memories, but sometimes you see finishing memory photographs of people stopping their watch. They see them cross the finish line with their hand on their watch, worrying about that 1 second. And everyone I talk to, I keep saying to them, run through the finish line, get your medal, then stop your watch, because although Strava is the governing body, who cares? I'd rather have a nice, proud finishing photo and not a hand on watch looking at your time, because that way basically you've removed all those memories of the race, whether it be an hour or 12 hours, to one moment in time of stopping your watch on the exact line. And down the track, like I said, I can't tell you to the second any of my races. I can tell you hours, roughly hours, but stopping your watch on the finish line, to me, destroys the whole event and destroys the history, destroys the memory. Like, looking back at photographs and seeing you hug someone or cross the line with your mate and those sort of things, that's what makes that event worthwhile. Not crossing it, stopping your watch. So I think just enjoy it, and just, if you can, find a runners group, and again, and vary it up. Like, do your own self runs as well, but get out there with your friends and be challenged by people around you to run faster or slower or hillier. But just enjoy it, and jump on social media. I don't think cool running is still going. I think it's just...
What's that?
Is cool running still going, or is it? No, yes, that's a shame, because that was a group of basically back in the pack with a few semi-elite, but there was like camaraderie. There was a bit of banter, and that's what you needed. My dog's joined us. And that's what you need, because otherwise you take it too serious. Which people do. People do take running too serious at times, and like I said, unless it puts food on your table, just enjoy it.
What's the name? It reminds me, I listen to a lot of podcasts on my run, and there was one I've listened to called the High Performance Podcast. I think it is, or it was Purple Patch, one or the other. And it talks about 3 things, and one is performance in context, high performance in context, embrace the journey, and now the basics. Yeah. And you've actually embraced the journey, because for you, running is as much physical as it is social for you. It's connecting with people. Yeah,
that's true, and it's hard because I'm an introvert. I'm a massive introvert, which this podcast doesn't probably show that. Hi. But year of COVID, I was in my element, and I loved not having to see people and meet people. I'm a very nervous person. And that's why I think I can't nail down UTA, because I know almost half the people there. I know some people there, and expectations of them are less than my expectations, but still I feel like I'm in this fishbowl. Whereas when I went to Surf Coast Century, when I went to Great Ocean Walk, Tarawera, no one knew me. Cairns, no one knew me at all, and I could just run, and if I failed, no one cared. If I succeeded again. No one cared. So as much as our running community, like I said, it's almost like my second family. I love it so much. I do feel this sense of, it's almost like that imposter syndrome where like I feel like I belong, but I don't belong because I could name drop, the top 10 male female runners in the world, and I'm, Australia, and I know them personally, but I'm not in their league. But sometimes you think, well, by name dropping them, do you think you're in their league? So it's hard. It's just that, like, I know where I sit in the place. I'm the back of the pack. I'm a sweep chaser, but I do it for me. I do a bit. I guess make my girls feel proud about me a little bit. But as far as my social connection with my social friends, then it's more for me, and it's just that challenging myself both physically and mentally, which it gets harder these days because I'm 50 next year, so it's a lot of water under the bridge.
Youngster. Look, one thing I want to talk to you about, you've mentioned it once, but I know it's high on your consciousness, is weight. How have you managed that, particularly when you're not running as much now? What's your approach? And how does it sort of do your head in when you're juggling it?
Yeah, so I've had a weight issue now for probably close to 10 years. My weight fluctuates between, like 80 to 105. It's just, I guess my medication, I'm still on quite, high dose of medication, for PTSD, anxiety, and depression, and suicide, that sort of stuff. And although medication has these warnings, can put on weight, can cause weight gain, and I just find that I do comfort eat. And one thing I never understood, like I used to hear that saying, "Oh, people comfort eat." I was like, "That's BS." Like get off the couch, go for a run, eat properly. I went through a phase there, which I'm still trying to break now. Was I would run for a reward. I'd go for a run, and my reward would be a donut or a chocolate or a milkshake or something like that. And that was, I'd go for a run, almost run to a calorie count to come home to justify my snack. And I say it quite embarrassing that was, I ran for that purpose. And my weight ballooned, and I'm probably sitting at probably high 90s now, which like it's not going to kill me, but it doesn't make me run any faster. But it's just like when you go for a run and you're not getting, I suppose, the results you wanted. It does make you feel a bit like I don't eat properly. I guess that's hard too because, like I said, I'm here from 9 to 3. I don't work. I'm not working at the moment, so is that I don't leave the house unless I'm sort of shopping or unless I'm doing going for a run or doing school pickup. So it's sort of hard to not chuck on Fox Sports and watch Liverpool or watch Parramatta and eat too much. I do. I love my food and I eat, but most of the days I eat quite well, but I don't sleep. I'm in bed at 3 in the morning most days. I just don't sleep well. I suffer quite serious flashbacks still from the police, so I hate sleeping. I sleep more on the couch than I do in my bed, and that's when I tend to eat when I'm sitting here bored, and I'll just eat junk. I'll buy snacks for the week or school snacks for the week, and come Tuesday the girls are like, "Dad, where's our school snacks?" I'm like, in the bin. So I don't like it, but like it's one of those things. Like I guess by talking about it, I might kick myself in the gear. But
Does it really matter? Like it's just weight, or does it do your head in because you've put weight on?
I guess not having control. Like it's I guess we make decisions which affect our life every minute of the day. Like we do control our lives a lot, and I guess like
keep going.
It does get me down when I can't fit in pants that I fit in last year, or it gets me down when I buy a finishing shirt, and it's got like an XL on an L or an M, and but in saying that, and like a few people said to me, if I do something that's quite serious depression, and I have had suicidal thoughts in the past, and I guess they're like, well, we'd rather have a fat mate than a skinny memory, and it's and that's what I guess that if I eat and it keeps me alive and I get comfort out of eating, then I'll keep eating, because it's what to live for. I just got to try and learn to control, I guess, that vice I've got, which is just food.
Look, I call it competing obsessions.
I like that, yes.
Yeah, we all have different obsessions. Thank
Yep.
you for sharing that. Moving forward, what are some of the sort of things you want to do basically with your girls now in the coming months and years?
So obviously Emily's 17 and Tegan 13. So obviously Em's year 12 now. So get her through her L's, get her under P's, get her through her HSE. She's hoping to, I think nursing's up in one of her things. So that's sort of her thing at the moment. And she's got a lovely boyfriend who I just adore. Like it's hard at this age. Like, and we know when we were 17, what we did as boys. And when I met this boy, I've known through soccer for quite a few years. So I was happy when she told me that they were dating. And I said it's those nervous weeks, months. They've been together now for almost a year, and he's like family. He's one of those. He's a lovely kid and absolute manners that I adore, and he's got Emily's best intentions at heart. And so I think she's on the right track there. And little Teagues is 13, netball. So now I've gone from being a soccer dad to a netball mum. Different crowd. God, it's just, I love the netball, but I love my soccer. But netball, I'm still learning the rules and etiquette on the sideline. Lots of has-beens or wannabes or never weres on the sideline who love giving input to the girls. Whereas football's quite a hush-hush, enjoy coffee. Yes.
Well, that's good. Well, it's sounding pretty good anyway. Yeah. And what do you think? Should we go for a run?
I'd love to go. I would love to go for a run, yes.
So we'll just go out the front door and do something different?
Hell no. Up the mountain.
Up the mountain? How much time have we got?
We've got 2 hours.
All right, we're on. Okay, thanks for your time, Brett.
Thanks, Martin. It's great to see you, mate. Let's go for a run.
Good on you. Thank you. All right, we're still live there. I've got this on. I just realised I had that on my 3G. That's why the battery was going so quickly. Let's do the pause. See you, everyone. I can see someone there should be in school watching it.